Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Influence Economy podcast. I'm Shayna Davis, your host. Thank you so much for being here. And you know, I have a favor. I always ask y'all to do a favor. So if you're listening the first time, you're like, dang, she's just getting started and she already wants me to do something. Yes, I do. I want you to take a screenshot wherever it is that you're listening to this episode, whether it's your laptop, your phone, your tablet. I don't know what we're listening to things on these days, but take a screenshot. And with that screenshot, I want you to post it on your social media, tag us here at Shayna Rattler Davis. And then I just want to hear your biggest aha moment or your biggest takeaway from this episode. And the reason why I do that is because, in my opinion, far too many women are living beneath their profit potential. And everybody doesn't know where to start to change that. And so, the more times that these episodes are shared, the more people can be exposed to the shifts that are going to be required in order for them to own their influence. So I thank you in advance for being willing to do that. Well, I've been in the green room talking to my girl for a second, and I know that this is going to be a great conversation. I met her earlier this year, and she is just stunning. And I think that this is going to be a wonderful conversation. So let me quit talking, read her bio so that we can get to it. My guest today's mission is to help you define the details needed to find your digital voice and establish your digital presence, all while uncovering your digital swagger. See, I told you she was dope. She founded Ascent Social Capital to do just that. She enjoys educating and training people on LinkedIn and Sales Navigator, which is not the same thing. She has been recognized by LinkedIn as a top 5 of Sales Navigator community expert, a global community of 30,000 plus members. She was one of the 4 original experts to be invited to become an official sales solution community virtual meetup organizer. She has trained thousands of sales, customer success, field marketers, recruiters, consultants, and more on the power of LinkedIn's sales solution, Sales Navigator. She has also consulted hundreds of individuals on optimizing their LinkedIn profiles and guided companies to elevate their LinkedIn brand awareness. By trade, she's a certified project management professional. She has led enterprise-wide programs for Fortune 500 companies and clients in multiple industries. She attained her BA in business administration from McMurray University and her MBA from Texas Woman's University. I'm excited to welcome to the show Tamika Brunetti.
Hi.
Now, listen, y'all, I just want you to know before we get started, this is not your regular LinkedIn conversation because I know some of you are like, Shayna doesn't do basic conversations. I'm surprised we're talking about social media. You're right. And this is not your basic LinkedIn conversation. You know that I am so big on the fact that we need to stop stepping over dollars in order to get to dimes. I am a big proponent of bigger and better buyers and bigger and better deals. And so that's what we're going to be talking about today is how you use LinkedIn's Sales Navigator specifically to land bigger deals because you know that's the theme that we're in right now for the show. So Tamika, I think a great place for us to start is what's the difference between like just regular LinkedIn that all of us have access to for free and Sales Navigator, and why is that preferred, especially if we're wanting to go after bigger deals?
Right. So LinkedIn has several products out there that most people don't even know that they have. Right. And then within LinkedIn, they have multiple membership levels. So there's the free, which gives you very limited access. Then you start paying premium. You can do premium career, premium business, and so forth. Right. But then when you get to Sales Navigator, you get access to so much information because Sales Navigator is actually sourcing user generated content, right, from the LinkedIn platform. It's their platform, and we input everything, right? So they're taking it exactly from us instead of a third party resource like, well, I won't drop any names, but you know what I mean. And so LinkedIn's going to help you see what your people are doing, who's in your direct first degree connection, maybe a friend of a friend, and then some. Sales Navigator is going to help you build relationships. And their whole thing is all about building relationships at scale effectively and efficiently.
Hmm. That's really good Because for me, I'd used some of the premium and some of those other things in the past years ago, but it was primarily because I was searching for a job and I knew that there were certain things that I could do if I was looking for a job that I couldn't do with the free version. But I
Right.
started using Sales Navigator about maybe 4 or 5 months ago, and I've just been blown away at the level that I can even search. I can say, I want this type of company, this type of industry, but don't give me that type of industry. Give me this role, but don't give me that role. Make sure that they're at this level, but make sure they're not below this level. Make sure they're in this area, but not that level. The granular level in which I can set up what's called a persona to be able to search for quality leads has been mind blowing. But I will say this: when I first opened it up and looked at it, it wasn't very intuitive and it was quite overwhelming. So, what would you say to someone who is either still a little bit overwhelmed by figuring out how to navigate it, no pun intended, or someone who, after they listen to this episode, they go invest in it and they open it up? Like, what's the first step that someone should take? Because it can look a little like I don't know what to click on.
So the first step that I encourage everyone, and this is for any platform out there, let's go look at those settings.
Mm,
Set it up so that you're curating the experience you want, right? Because all these platforms will send you countless emails. So let's get that out the way. But then they also have this coach program where you can do little exercises that probably take 90 seconds or less to do, just to get familiar with some of the features, the key features that they have. So I
okay.
highly recommend that. But then also look at the Learning Center, join the community, reach out to me, reach out to you. But the first thing you need to decide on is, what are you exactly going to use it for? It's
Mm.
not a search engine. People go in there all the time like it's Google, and they'll just throw a name in there, throw a company in there, and it's like, okay, now what?
And if you're going to do that, you may as well just use the free version and keep it moving.
Exactly, right? And so I used to tell the sellers and customer success professionals, load in your book of business. If you can't load it in, go ahead and create an account list. Just get started in one area or the other. Ideally, start with the company, just so that you have the companies in there and you're going to stay abreast of what they're doing in the market. Because again, all this information is user generated, and companies are users as well, or members though.
Yeah. I'm a big fan of measurement. Like,
Mm.
I don't just do something and then just keep doing it and move on. Like I try to like actually measure what's working. And so if we're using Sales Navigator, what metrics actually matter that we should be measuring? Like if we're using this to like find leads so that we can land these types of contracts or bigger deals with the organizations that are on there, are there any metrics that actually matter that we should be looking at?
So the metrics, it's a little limited when you're not on an enterprise license.
Okay.
Because when you have an enterprise license, it can talk to your CRM, or customer relationship management system. And
Yeah.
that's where you'll start to really get metrics. But as someone like myself who just has a core, which is the baseline Sales Navigator, there's not really a whole lot outside of what you would have to track somewhere else. So it's not
Got
going to
it.
provide you with a lot. But there is one that I think a lot of people can easily get to, and it's your social index score, your social
Mm,
selling index score. And so I have it on my other screen here. And so when you're in Sales Navigator, you would actually go up into the top right corner and click on the your little profile photo, and then you'll see down, I guess, 5 levels is the social selling index. And then this is going to show you where you are in 4 key areas, which are your professional brand being established, if you're finding the right people, if you're engaging with insights, and if you're building relationships. And so
mm.
each one of those sections has a maximum score of 25, and the most you can get is 100. And if you're doing at least 70, you're doing good. That's best.
Okay.
And so you'll see a lot of people who are just flying around 20%, 30%. The easiest one to really boost your score is your brand. complete your LinkedIn profile, right?
I was
That's
just getting ready to ask,
good.
like, how do you improve those numbers? Like, what is it measuring? What am I doing on a daily, monthly basis that drives those numbers up?
So they won't give all the information behind those drivers, but for example, if you've already established that you are focusing just based off of your activity, you're focused on manufacturing companies.
Mhm.
When it comes to finding the right people, it sees that you are actually finding people in manufacturing, maybe
Got
the
it.
functional areas, HR. So, it's watching your behavior. Okay. And when they're providing insights, for example, within, Sales Navigator, it'll give you all these different alerts, let you know when people are doing things, when
Yeah.
companies have, funding, events. If you're paying attention to those, clicking on those, then your scores are gonna move in a positive direction.
And here's I never even thought about this before, but how are they using the score? Like, is linked, you know how like on Instagram and other things they have these algorithms, like how they're deciding whether or not they're making you discoverable. Like, I don't think LinkedIn works like that. But how are they using that score? Like, what does it matter? What does that score mean for them versus me being aware of where I'm ranked?
So that's a unknown as well.
Okay.
But they are very similar to all the other platforms with the algorithm. A
Okay.
couple of months ago, they shook everything. Our world has been shook since. So the things that we thought we do, we're all trying to figure that out right now. But it's all about consistency. Even if you're thinking about Sales Navigator, being consistent on there, I would encourage you, if you're going to use Sales Navigator, to use Sales Navigator first before you go to LinkedIn. Because
Mm.
everything you can, well, for the majority, you can do most of what you do on LinkedIn directly through Sales Navigator. So there's no need to be inefficient and toggle between screens.
That makes a ton of sense, and I have not been doing that. So, speaking of that, you've worked with thousands of people teaching them how to use Sales Navigator.
Mhm.
What are some of the biggest mistakes that you're seeing people make as they're using this tool?
The biggest mistake is, and I've already alluded to, was the using it as a search engine,
Mm.
but not having a strategy would probably be the next one. And so there's so many things that you can really do with Sales Navigator to help you find your champions, your influencers, who's
Mhm.
going to be in, your gatekeepers, all those things. And people don't take the time to actually play around with the features. You're
Mm.
not going to break it.
Yeah.
Just play around with it, right? And surprisingly, once you start playing around with it, you find out, oh, this is actually kind of fun. And then you start spending more time. And then you're like, oh, I got
Yeah.
other things I need to do. But
Like anything, like you said, most of us don't even there's features on there that we probably don't even know, or ways that we're not even thinking of using it. So I'm curious if you can think of one unconventional way that you're using Sales Navigator that maybe most people wouldn't even think of, whether it's a feature or like, oh, I use it for this and I find that most people don't.
okay, so I have two.
Okay.
And I'll say one is for those who have like a core license, the base, and then those who have the enterprise, because
Okay.
they're completely different. So when it comes to core, and this actually will work with any of them, is multi-threading. Are you familiar with that?
Don't have a clue what that means. Tell me.
Okay. So multi-threading is essentially, you know, finding people in all different areas of the company that could potentially help you, right? So
Okay.
if you've been working with Keisha all this time, right? And now you need to see who else might be able to influence her decision, then you start using I think there's north of 30 filters that you can go through when you're looking for a lead. So you can kind of see who those common people are and then start building relationships with them. So taking the multi-threading to strengthen your business case, right? And to find out what everyone's pain points are, and then assessing what's actually going to be the main pain point. Who's actually signing the deal?
Yeah.
Because who you are talking to might not even be the department that's using it.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times you will be talking to someone that's in IT, right? Especially if it's a software. You're talking to someone in the IT, but this is for finance.
Yeah.
So we need to find out who the finance people are. You need to start asking questions, as you're building these relationships to get this information. So that's where multi-threading comes into play. But then when you have that enterprise, and I wish they would give core access to this. And I've written articles on LinkedIn about this, is smart links. Smart links is hands down my favorite feature.
Okay.
Smart links allows you to package up content and share it with whomever you want in a nice, clean link. You can organize things. Maybe you want to say step one, read this. Step two, read that. Right? Like leading the witness almost.
Yeah.
But the great thing about it is you get notified the moment someone accesses your content.
Mm,
Immediately, you get an email, right?
that's
And
good to
then
know.
yeah, and then you get access to analytics to know how long they engage with said content, how long they spent on page 8. Now, yes, they could have gotten distracted and walked away and spent 3 hours on page 8. Okay, common sense tells you something happened there. But if you see that you sent it to Keisha, right? You sent the smart link to Keisha, and then all of a sudden you get a notification that Thomas has viewed your smart link. Who
Then
is
you quickly
Thomas?
shared it.
Right. That's where that multi-threading comes into play. Like, who is Thomas? And then you start looking up Thomas, like, oh, okay, I need to start engaging with Thomas, build that relationship. And then Louise is looking at it. So it's telling you all these different things and who's actually curious or needing to know that information. But the good thing about it, how I talked about Keisha could have spent 8 minutes on or 30 minutes on page 8. If they're all spending about the same time on the same page,
That tells you something too.
that's where you need to go. That's buyer intent that you wouldn't necessarily get just by emailing something.
That's gold. That's gold. To me, those are the metrics that matter because,
Yeah.
it's one thing for a sales navigator to be like, oh, Matt just posted. Oh, great. I'm glad that you told me that because now I don't have to spend hours on there looking. I can go comment on his post. I'm gonna find something to say, one way or the other. But it's even better for me to be because one of the things that I do is I do monthly executive roundtables. And I share at the about a week after the roundtable has ended, I compile a report of all of the insights that we discussed during the roundtable in a very nice looking way, and I give it to them. It would be smarter if I gave it to them in a smart link because then I can see if they're actually opening it and if they're sharing it inside and outside of their organization, or like you said, like what page did they stay on the longest.
Yeah, that would be gold. So LinkedIn, if you're listening, us on the lower levels, we want smart links too.
Yeah, we want smart links too. We're gonna figure it out. We're gonna figure it out. So
Yeah.
I'm curious, Tamika, we're all busy, right? And so if we only had 30 minutes every day that we could spend on Sales Navigator, what should we spend that time doing?
So I'm going to answer this question, assuming you've already created some lead list and maybe some account lists.
Okay.
Okay. And so on the home screen of Sales Navigator, over on the right side, you'll see your priority accounts. These are the ones that you might have starred. So you can see who their decision makers are. You can see what's trending and what in the whichever direction. But then also take a look at your feed and pick one or two filters that you want to focus on. Maybe you want to just today you want to just spend time congratulating people because everybody likes to be congratulated, right? So you're looking for people who changed jobs in the last 90 days. Select those and just go through those and say, hey, congratulations. Um, Send them an in-mail message. This
Hmm.
is my favorite part. Send them an in-mail message, but also, you're congratulating them and then say, hey, um, not familiar with what this role entails. I would love to spend 15 minutes learning about what your role and what you plan to do.
Yeah, that's
Because
good.
most people won't do that. And everybody likes to talk about themselves.
Yeah. Especially if that role is a role that is usually a decision maker for the product or services that you sell. I'm always telling my clients, you have to get crafty in how you get these people on the phone because the basic, I love connecting with people here that so and so, they smell through that. And
Hmm.
even if they're willing to accept your connection request from something very vanilla like that, it's very difficult to get these busy decision makers on the phone if you don't have crafty ways to do that. That's why I
Hmm.
use things like inviting them on my podcast. That's why I do things like inviting them to my executive roundtables to have peer conversations, because it's a lot easier to get them to say yes when you've engaged them in that way. And so I love
Hmm.
what you're saying about, you see that they just got, promoted to a new role within the company, or the company that they were already at, or a new one. It's a great way to say, hey, I want to learn more about, what this role entails, and what you're, what you plan to do in this role, because like you said, everyone loves to talk about themselves. Then they're, unless they're just complete idiots, they're not going to reciprocate and ask you to tell them something about you. And so that's a great way for you to be able to use Sales Navigator in order to open the door to have these exploratory conversations that can
Hmm.
land to 6 and 7 figure deals sometimes.
Absolutely. And just to piggyback off of what you said, if you think about it, this person just got a new VP role. They vacated a senior director role, likely,
Yeah.
right? And maybe someone either left or someone has been promoted as well to SVP.
Yeah.
Who might they be? Let's look into that, right? And so now you can either look at past customers, past colleagues to help you get an understanding and create these allies internally to understand when there might be um, a big opportunity coming up or initiatives that are changing. Because as leadership changes, initiatives change.
Yeah. Yeah,
Mhm.
that's really good. So I want to shift to talking about how it is that you work and how it is that you help people before we wrap
Mhm.
up. But before we do that, is there anything else that you feel like we should know about using Sales Navigator that we haven't already touched on a little bit today?
I think the one thing that I think people need to really focus on is one of the account filters that I don't think people really appreciate. And
Okay.
that's where you see job opportunities, right? Whether they're increasing or decreasing. When you see those job opportunities, check out on their actual website their job postings or on LinkedIn's, job posting to see what that gap is that you can actually fill. And now that, many states are requiring that you post your compensation packages, now you see where the budget is. And
That's
we're looking for bigger deals. Well, hello, you can take me. I can help you fill that gap and you don't have to pay me benefits.
Yeah, that is so good, especially in the world of fractional positions. Like over this last year, I have met so many people that are fractional CMOs, that are fractional CFOs. And if you don't know what that means, that basically means that they hire you as a contractor to fill the gap. You can either be covering somebody's maternity leave, you can be interim. For somebody until they hire somebody else, or sometimes they've just decided they don't want to pay all the benefits and everything else, and so they're going to call you fractional. But essentially what that means is, like, let's just say the CFO, for example. If you're the fractional CFO, you're functioning in many of the same capacities as their CFO would. They're
Mm.
just paying you a fee for your services, but you're not getting company perks, you're not getting the benefits, all the things. And so what Tamika is alluding to here is that as a consultant, as a trainer, as someone who is an expert or a service provider, if you see that there is a role that is looking to be filled, sometimes they will let you fill that role until they find someone else, or they may decide, I didn't even think about filling that role in this capacity. And you can have that role for, for as long as what you want sometimes. I know some people that they do fractional things for 12 or 13 weeks. I know some people who have been fractional for years.
Oh, yeah, that is definitely the one that I think people need to pay attention more to.
That's so good.
Mhm.
So, how is it that, because even though like these are great tips, I know that sometimes people still need help in really, you talked about strategy. The biggest mistake that people make is not having a strategy. And you can
Mhm.
understand all the tips, you can understand all the features in the world, and if you don't have the right strategy, and specifically someone that can help you to curate that strategy, you still may not get the biggest results. So I wanted just to take a minute for you to talk about, like, how do you help people? If someone is listening to this episode and they're like, this is great, but I don't want to figure out all of this on my own, or whatever else may be, like, how is it that you help people in your company?
So what we do is we will actually train or coach folks on, wherever they are, because you're going to have people who are complete novice, and then you're going to have some people who are experts, but they just need a little bit more insight. And so we do one-on-one sessions. We do group sessions, team trainings, kickoffs. I mean, there's everything is in most cases bespoke because every person, every company needs something different.
Yeah, that's good.
Mhm.
That's good. So, if people want to take things further with you, number one, what social media handle can they follow you on?
So everything is all about LinkedIn.
I figured.
And so it's Tamika Brunetti is the easiest way to find me.
Awesome. And I'll make sure that the link to that is in the show notes. And if people want to take things further with you, what would you like them to do?
Oh, I would love for them to either connect with me, send me a connection request, but please send a connection request with a note so I know how you came across me, right? Um, Also, you can follow me. You can actually book a call if you're interested, and all that information is on my LinkedIn profile. So,
Awesome. Well, I'm going to make sure that all of that is in the show notes. So all that you have to do is click it. Tamika, thank you so much for agreeing to be here, especially on such short notice. Y'all, I know Tamika in real life, and I was like, girl, you need to come on my show. And we planned to do it like in 2 days, and then all hell broke loose with my technology. But anyway, thank you so much for being here and sharing these nuggets. I know that this episode is going to be a hit. Everyone, share this with every professional person that you know. I hope that you will go back and listen to previous and future episodes as well. Everyone, have a great day. Bye bye.